Michael Saylor might be setting us up for the biggest bear market in crypto history. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a while, you will know that we have spoken about this before, but I'm about to bring all of these points together so that you can see just how deep this rabbit hole goes. Sailor Maxis, grab the tissues, because what I'm about to reveal about his finances, reckless leverage, and just how dangerous Bitcoin bet is might just blow your mind. All right, so MicroStrategy, or strategy as it's now called, is a Bitcoin black hole. Thanks to Michael Saylor, this company has morphed into a leveraged Bitcoin whale, sweeping up billions of dollars in Bitcoin. He has gone all in. Maximum leverage, maximum risk, pulling every financial trick in the book to buy more Bitcoin. We're talking about company funds, debt financing, and external loans. Sounds like the dream, right? Until you realize how fragile this whole setup becomes when the market turns against him, and I think it will. First, let's talk about the Silvergate loan. MicroStrategy took out a $205 million loan from Silvergate using Bitcoin as collateral. They barely dodged disaster by paying it off before Silvergate collapsed. If they had missed that window, they could have been margin called at a $21,000 Bitcoin price, a forced liquidation that would have nuked the markets. But of course, this is how responsible his strategies are. And for those of you who think that Saylor cannot be liquidated, which I think a lot of people think this way, think again. The myth that MicroStrategy is immune against margin calls ignores the fine print. While they've structured their debt to minimize immediate risk, they've still leveraged Bitcoin. If Bitcoin crashes hard enough, or if MicroStrategy stock tanks, creditors can come knocking, guys. Convertible debt, stock collateral risk, and forced restructuring could all lead to a fire sale of Bitcoin. Saylor isn't untouchable. He's just betting that the price of Bitcoin will never drop low enough to test his limits. But if it does, it's game over, and we're all in for a ride there. Next, we have convertible debt and senior secured notes. MicroStrategy owes billions, and some of this debt is convertible at specific price levels. If Bitcoin dumps, MicroStrategy's stock gets crushed. This could trigger forced sales, restructuring, or even worse, a liquidity crisis. Imagine a scenario where MicroStrategy cannot meet its obligations. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Then there's the issue of stock collateral. Saylor holds millions of MicroStrategy shares. If he's used those shares as collateral and the stock nosedives, boom, forced liquidations, cascade margin calls, and a downward death spiral. We don't even know how much leverage is truly hidden behind the scenes. One major price drop and this whole house of cards starts wobbling. Are you seeing the pattern here? This is not just bullish conviction. This is financial Russian roulette. As if the risk wasn't enough, MicroStrategy is issuing new stock offerings, STRK and STRF. Why does this matter? Because it's just another way for Saylor to raise money to keep doubling down. More stock offerings means more dilution. This is bad news for MicroStrategy shareholders. It's a desperate move to keep fueling an already dangerous strategy. This is how margin spirals start. I've been called a hater for pointing this out, but how many times can you leverage yourself before the whole house of cards collapses, okay? Saylor's obsession with leveraging Bitcoin might have just set him up for the biggest financial fumble in history. So MicroStrategy already converted its 2025 bonds, which means they obliterated their book gains from buying Bitcoin at $10,000. Now, with negative cash flow and mounting debt, they're scrambling to issue a 10% perpetual yield on $500 million with his newest stock issuance, Strife, as a desperate move to keep the game going. But here's where it gets rough. The more they dilute their stock, the closer they get to wiping out all their paper gains. If MicroStrategy stock collapses, the premium compression kicks in and the whole house of cards starts to collapse. And it gets much worse. This isn't just reckless. MicroStrategy is valued at 6x, or 6 times over its asset value, bleeding money, and still staring down a $1 billion debt bomb in 2027. Saylor's entire play was about front-running the market, but now he's trapped, forced to take on more and more leverage just to survive. The irony is his all-in strategy means that after years of top blasting and maxing out every move, he ends up making zero on $650 million worth of Bitcoin bought at $10,000. If this collapses, it's not just a liquidation, it's an extinction level event for MSTR. Are you starting to see the problem here? This isn't just a bullish play. It's reckless gambling with billions on the line. Okay, so if you're finding this interesting, please hit that like button and please subscribe. We're not sugarcoating anything here. Many people do in this space, and we don't because we're not sponsored. We expose the risk, the scams, and the ticking time bombs before they explode, like FTX 2 weeks before it collapsed. But anyways, let's not forget, this isn't Saylor's first rodeo. Remember the dot-com bubble? Saylor was a rising tech star, and guess what? When the crash came, MicroStrategy lost over $6 billion in a single day. The SEC came knocking, and Saylor had been lying about his earnings. His fortune evaporated overnight. Sound familiar? Because this looks eerily similar to what we are seeing right now. Only that this time, the game isn't .com stocks, it's Bitcoin. If MicroStrategy gets margin called, the Bitcoin market takes a direct hit. Forced liquidations means massive Bitcoin sell-offs. A collapse in confidence leads to a panic in the markets. Imagine the headline screaming, Michael Saylor forced to sell Bitcoin. That would be a bloodbath. For a little bit. I'd be buying for sure. But this isn't just speculation now. We've seen it before. One over-leveraged player crumbles and the market will get crushed. The worst part, it doesn't take much. Just a slight downturn, a small liquidity squeeze, or one bank getting nervous, and we're all in for a ride downward. And for me, that would be amazing news because I get to buy it back cheaper. MicroStrategy, though, had dodged the Silvergate bullet, but barely. They have billions in debt and leverage hanging by a thread. Saylor's own shares might even be collateral. If they drop, so does everything else. And what's funny is he said Bitcoin is a great price to buy at these prices. He's starting to sound a little bit desperate. And the new stock offering, STRK and STRF, do not help at all. But anyways, that's everything for today. If you want to know what we are selling, and it will definitely be before Saylor nukes the market, then head over to learningcrypto.com or scan the QR code on the screen right now. Now, for me, what my thoughts are on this is that personally, I tweeted this the other day. I said that Saylor going down, going bust, would be the second most bullish event to have ever happened in Bitcoin's history. The first one would be the Mt. Gox scenario, where Mt. Gox had about 80% of the trades on Bitcoin back in the day. I remember that very clearly. The market tanked, but Bitcoin survived, guys. Bitcoin actually thrived afterwards. The whole world didn't know Bitcoin back then. now the whole world knows about Bitcoin. And that just shows how resilient Bitcoin is. So with Michael Saylor going down, he's like the crypto. I've heard so many times people saying that if Michael Saylor goes down, it's over for Bitcoin. I think that's BS. I think these people haven't been around in this space for very long. They definitely haven't been around since Mt. Gox. I've seen it all, guys. I understand how resilient Bitcoin is, and I'm gonna get so freaking bullish if Michael Saylor goes down. I'm gonna be just loading the boat on this because Bitcoin isn't going anywhere, guys. If you think it is, then you're new to this space and we welcome you. And if you want Bitcoin to remain resilient, it's time to start kicking out these centralized entities like Saylor, like BlackRock. I mean, obviously they're gonna try to get as much Bitcoin as possible, but you know what? The focus should be on decentralization, being able to send your money to anyone on Earth, global, permissionless, all that stuff, and keeping your coins in your possession, which Saylor hates, by the way. He doesn't like that. So anyways, please like and subscribe. Talk to you guys soon.